Hey guys, Target here and welcome to another episode of Design and Manage, a City Skylines and Modded Let's Play series. In this episode we are going to continue the development of the zoo and we're also going to finish it. I've decided to expand the zoo all the way until the river, to make it bigger, to have room to place all the enclosures and also to have a bigger and more interesting footprint on the map itself. I thought it would be really cool and interesting to have the river, or at least parts of the river, some segments of water, to go through the park itself and have the pathways and the pathway network adapt to the new changes to the terrain. This way we will be able to have the enclosures and also some leisure areas next to the riverside. That is going to make this area much cooler and much more interesting. So that's exactly what I'm doing in this clip. I'm simply adjusting the terrain and terraforming everything and bring some artificial canal into the city itself, into the map. And then for the rest of this video we are going to continue the building of the zoo around these artificial rivers. These canals that I'm making are just some rough guidelines, just to define the location of the enclosures themselves and to define the direction that I want the pathways to take. They look a bit wonky and a bit amateurish right now, but I will adapt them as I build, and later on I'll decorate everything with rocks and trees to make everything much more natural looking. But yes, that's pretty much it for the explanation. I hope you enjoyed this project and I'll meet you in a moment to start building the zoo. Alright guys, so I've just terraformed the area quite a little bit. I've modified the terrain just to adjust to the new assets that I'm about to place. This is not a final shape because, as you see, it's a bit wonky, but it will serve as a starting point. So the first thing that I want to do is start making some pathways that connect the main part of the zoo to the other parts. So I'm going to need an access to this area here and also to this area over here, which is also going to be part of the zoo. So I'm gonna grab my pathway tool, and I think I'm gonna make a connection below the bridge connecting to this pathway that will bring people both to this side and also to this side over here. Perhaps I can make another pathway under this bridge as well. So let's try and do that right now. Perhaps let me just widen the terrain a little bit just to allow for a better pathway. Now let's try and do this again. Okay, I think it looks better. And let's bring it all the way here. Actually, we can bring this pathway all the way over here. And now perhaps we can just connect this one. Okay, perhaps something like this. Okay, that's good enough for me. Now let's bring this to the other side of the artificial river, as we may call it. Okay, it seems good enough for me, but let's see if we can connect it to the other side without any issues. Hold on, yes, I think this is it. This is going to be it. So now let's just continue and make another bridge here. So something along these lines. Oh yeah, there you go. It has kind of a slope, but I don't mind this. I think it looks good enough for me. And now we are also going to have another entrance over here in this little road, and perhaps another entrance in this road as well. And perhaps we can even make another bridge that will connect to this side, like this. Okay, so I've just adjusted the roads and I've also expanded the district area, or the park area. Now we can go ahead and make a few secondary entrances. I am going to need, where are the side gates? Okay, there's one. I'm going to put one here, another one there. And I also need to put another one, where is it? Here at the corner. Seems like a good location for it. Now let's see what enclosures do we have that we need to place. Okay, so we have the flamingo, the elephant, the sea life, and then we have all of these ones as well. The sea life one can be placed, I don't know, what will be a good location for it. So perhaps here. Okay, seems about right. Now let me just adjust the terrain. Make it look a bit better. So let me just build a quick pathway here. Okay. And now we can connect it to the main entrance. Or in this case, the secondary entrance. And I also need to adjust this connection as well. So perhaps we can make a curvy shape that goes around here. And I also think it looks quite nice from here. I think we have chosen a great location for the sea life enclosure. Let's take a good look at it. I particularly like this asset because it has a stationary part, which is the building itself and these three little towers, but then it has a structure of wood that adapts to the sea level. So this area over here is going to be adjusted to the sea level no matter what, which is great. I like it. Now we also have this thing, the gigantic elephant enclosure, which is, well, as I've said, gigantic. So what I think I'm gonna do is actually dezone these little shops here and expand the zoo to this area of the city as well. So let's take out all of this and let me also expand the park area of the zoo so that it encompasses all of this area as well. Okay. I think there's no need for us to delete these buildings, we'll see about that. And I'm going to put this facility right about here. Okay, let me see how it looks. Okay, so we have a bit of a problem with the terrain here. And let me also see the fence. Yeah, this creates quite a bit of clipping, so we cannot have that. So let's actually delete it and try to modify the terrain a little bit to make it look better. Okay, so this looks much better. I also think I'm going to adjust this road a little bit to accommodate the buildings a bit better. So let me just pause the simulation, delete this segment. I want to make a secondary pathway right about here. Over here, and I want to place there a little plaza. Just as a reference, and then we can build a road around it. So something like this. Let's see if the plaza actually connects with the road. Perhaps we should leave a bigger gap. Okay, better. And now we can connect it to this area. Okay, so perhaps we can work with this. And I also think we can add some more proper and more imponent entrances to this zoo. So just slamming the buildings on the sides of the road is not working out for me. So let me actually try this again. So let me delete this. And let me grab the road with trees. And let's make an off-road right about here. Let me disable the road guidelines. So one here. One there, and let's connect it to this road. And now we can slam the entrances over there. And this will make it look a bit better than what we had. Or you know what, we can even curve the roads and make something like this. Not perfect quarter circles, but I think it works. Okay guys, so I've been developing the area a bit further, and the first thing that I've done was place this flamingo enclosure right next to the riverside, the shoreline, which I think looks great. And I've also added a connection to the other side of the zoo by crossing the road over this bridge over here. I don't think the slope is aggressive at all, so I think it looks pretty cool. And then it will eventually connect to the elephant enclosure, where I've placed also a plaza and also a souvenir shop, a cafe, and some restrooms as well. And I've connected everything to the main entrance at about over here. Not the main entrance, but one of the gates. In the meanwhile, we have upgraded the zoo to level 4, and we have unlocked a few more enclosures. One of them is actually something that will fit very well over here, which is the giraffe enclosure. So if I can show you, yes, here it is, and it will fit very well right about over here. So that's something that I want to try out right now. Let me delete this long segment of a pathway, and let me try and put this thing over here instead. So let me see if I can make a perfect fit. Well, there we go. Okay, perfect. And now let's try and connect it to the main pathways without having this little brown area over here, because this is actually something, it's an indication that shows that people can actually cross from this road to this pathway, and I don't want that. I don't want people to get in the zoo over here. I want them to go through the main gates and actually pay the ticket price. So let me actually try out this. Let's see. Okay, we were not able to delete this brown stuff, so I think we need to readjust this a bit better, unfortunately. So let me actually grab this and let me scoot it over a bit to the south. But the terrain is a bit jagged. I don't think I'm going to connect this pathway to this one properly, so let me actually delete this and adjust the terrain. Okay, much better. But now we need to connect it to the main pathways that we have without creating any awkward intersections. So let's try it out and see what we can do with this. Okay, the first one was a success. Let's try the other one. I think we're actually going to need to delete this, create the connection here, and connect it to this main pathway. Now that we have the main structure of this part of the zoo defined, we can start adding a few details. So I want to upgrade a few of these roads to roads with trees, so perhaps the main road can be one of those. And also this road over here. Okay. This entire segment as well, and perhaps this road here as well, and this one. And another thing that I want to do is actually grab this pathway and create a secondary connection all the way over here. So something like this. I don't like how it bends the terrain, so let me try and convert this to a dirt road or a dirt pathway and see what happens. Okay, unfortunately we are going to have to use the dirt road, which doesn't fit that well with the existing pathway. But the reason why I want to use this is because if I upgrade it to a normal zoo pathway, it will terraform the terrain around it, and I do not want it. I want it to be a very straight or a very thin line of land, so to say, because here I will want to place a park pier, which I think is going to give another different look to this area. So I can place a pier here, and there we go, perfect. And I'm just gonna keep this one, and I'm gonna place another one here. So let me just extend our pathways. Let me make one that goes all the way here. And again, I'll probably have to use the dirt paths at some point. And over here I'm still not going to build anything because we still have a couple of enclosures to unlock and I still don't know where I'm gonna place them. Oh, come on. Are you serious? I thought we were over this. I guess not. Yeah. Well, old habits die hard, I guess, so I think it's time for us to finally place the, what's it called? The disaster response unit. Even with the most recent updates, fire trucks still cannot get to buildings that are not placed directly on roads, so yeah. I think I'm gonna place this building temporarily. In the future I might find a more suitable location for it, but for the time being I think I'm gonna place it, let's see, perhaps on this side of the river. I still don't know what I'm gonna place here, so for the time being I'm gonna slam it right about here. Okay, so this is a bit jagged. Perhaps here. Okay, much better. And we already have some helicopters going to the rescue. Let's see where exactly are they going. We see one of them coming to this location and the other ones should be going to the sea life enclosure. So let's check it out. Okay, here they come. And they are walking on water, which is great to see. Great game mechanics as usual. And it is now ready to rebuild, and there we go, perfect. Much better than deleting and building all over again. And the same thing with these things over here. That should cover us for the time being. Alright guys, so I have been busy, as you can see. So basically I just let the game run on 3 speed because I wanted to get as many visitors as possible. I needed about 10,000 visitors to get my zoo to the next level, or to the max level, which is level 5, and unlock the final enclosures. So while I let the game run, I actually took advantage of that opportunity to decorate this part of the zoo that was already built. So basically I have placed a lot of rocks next to the shoreline, and I've also placed a few trees. But before that I've actually fenced off the entire thing, as you can see here. So all of these areas right next to the roads and to the ravines and the hills over here are fenced off. So in a realistic matter of speaking, people could not get into the zoo without going through these gates over here as well, which, as you can see, are all fenced off as well. I've also added these palm trees in the middle in some key locations, such as the entrance of the zoo over here, which I think looks quite amazing, very green, and also right about over here, right next to the sea life enclosure. Perhaps I could even add a few more, because I think we have a bit of room in between trees to fix up. The spacing between trees is not really that good, but I'll fix it in the future, or I'll fix it off camera. But yeah, showing you these areas with a bit more detail, we can see the plaza here enclosed with the restaurants and also the souvenir shop. Then we have this little hill that I have decorated with some rocks on the slope and also some trees. Then moving on to the other part of the road, this little bay area over here I have decorated with some gigantic rocks. And I've also designed a few of the residential buildings that were over here. The fence of the park area finishes up right about against the rock, which I think looks up quite nicely, especially because when we have the flamingo enclosure in a uphill state right next to these rocks, I think this area looked very well. Then I've also placed a couple more rocks in this area here between the giraffe enclosure and also the fishing pier. Again, I think it adds a lot of character and also some texture to the overall map and the geography. And moving on to the other side of the river, I have placed one of these gazebos which is part of the city park park area expansion or a specialization, and then I have enclosed everything with some rocks as well. They look a bit weird because rocks behave very weirdly in this game. They simply look like 2D shapes attached to the hill, but if we look from far away, it actually looks very well, and I really like it. Another thing that I've done was actually remove the zoo fences that are composed of this concrete wall and also this wooden layer on top, and I've placed a more visible fence, which is the park fence, with some grates that allow people to see through so that they can look upon the pit that is over here. And then in the middle I have placed this restaurant pier so that people can come and have dinner while looking at the pond. In the future perhaps I can even decorate this with a couple of rocks to make it look a bit better, and perhaps some trees on the shorelines as well. I haven't decorated these areas over here that I'm highlighting with my mouse because they're still not finished, but that's something that we can do right now. But before that we need to place the final enclosures, and right now we have 3 of them that we can place, or that are still missing, which are the Monkey Palace, which I think I am going to place over here right next to the shoreline. Then we have the Rhino enclosure, which I think I'm going to place right about over here. And we finally have the Lion enclosure, which I think is going to be placed right here. The Monkey Palace can be placed somewhere along this area, and let me just finish this view. So let's place this thing. Perhaps this is a good place for it. Right about here. Okay, I like its footprint. But let's see if we can connect it with a pathway and not look awkward. So something like this, which then connects here. Okay, I think it looks pretty cool. I wonder if we have room for a small plaza here. We do, but it doesn't look that good because of the terrain. That's fine. We'll simply decorate this with trees, no problem. Okay, so the Monkey Palace is now placed, so now we just need to place the final enclosures, which are the lion and the rhino. I think I'm gonna put the rhino enclosure in this area over here, right next to the bison, the moose, and also the antelopes, because I'm afraid if I put the lions here, they'll get too tempted, because everywhere they will look, they'll see dinner, and that's not cool. So I'm gonna put the lions in this corner instead, where they cannot see anything. I think I'll want to put it at about this angle, something like this, parallel to this main avenue. So perhaps what we can do is grab our pathway tool, make a pathway all the way over here, okay, delete this guideline, and perhaps we can place it right here. Okay, good enough for me. let's just make a few more pathway connections. So one here and an additional one over there. And we can even wrap around this, then make a connection here and connect the two enclosures. So something like this. Not bad, alright. And perhaps another connection here as well. So perhaps I can make a quarter of a circle. And we'll see what we can do right here in the center. Okay, so now let's just place a few trees where it makes sense. So the entrance of this building is over here, so I think we can put some trees here, some trees there, and also here as well. And likewise in these places as well. Okay. Perfect. Perhaps the trees are clipping here, so I think I'm gonna remove them from this pathway. And now we can just put the lion enclosure. And let me just check out how it looks. So it has its own pathways. Okay, pretty cool. And here's the magnificent lion, and a couple of them have also spawned. So what I think I'm gonna do is actually delete this and make a pathway, perhaps right in the middle. I'm not sure if this is the middle. It's close enough. I'm gonna bring it all the way over here. And now I am going to place the enclosure right here and connect it back again, perhaps with a pathway with trees. And there we have it, our lion enclosure. Okay, I think it looks very, very nice, but perhaps we can make a couple more connections. So let's make one over here, connect it here, and let's do the same over here as well. Perhaps we can make a curvy road. Something like this, and connect it here. And perhaps we can even do the same on the other side as well. Okay, pretty good. This entire thing is now fully connected. And these little gaps over here between facilities and between pathways are actually perfect to place a couple more buildings. So for example, I could even put a couple more gift shops over here. Perhaps we can even place them towards the lion enclosure itself. Something like this. Okay, not bad. Let me just take out the trees here. And I could even expand this area to this side as well. So let's actually continue this pattern. I'm going to place another plaza right about here. And I am going to place a couple more cafes. So this one can come all the way here. And another one, oh, hold on a second, where's the toilet? Okay, there's a restroom there, so I think I can put another one at the corner, at the opposite corner, such as this one. And let's also put a couple more cafes over here, like this. Okay. Now this area is much more composed, and I think it looks much better. And there we go, yeah, perfect. I think our zoo is now finally complete. Now that we have built in the basic infrastructure of the zoo, I am going to finalize it by decorating everything, or at least these areas that are still missing. So I'm going to replicate what I've done in this area with the rocks and also the trees, and I'm going to apply it to these areas, and I'm going to wrap up the zoo. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll meet you in a moment. Alright guys, so the city zoo is now finally complete. I've just decorated the entire thing, so let me just give you a quick look of the decorations that I have performed here. I think the most significant part of the work is around this area near the restaurant pier, where I've placed these rocks and then I've decorated everything with these ploppable assets. The slope of this hill where I've placed the rocks made it look quite messy, but by placing a few trees on the hillside, I think it helped hide the glitches that the game has, and I think it looks much better than before. Overall, I think this area looks very well, and it turned out even better than what I was expecting, especially since I'm not using any mods whatsoever. I also like the high vegetation that this rock has, that kind of makes it seem that the leaves are coming out of the water. Well, that's exactly what it looks like, and I think it looks great. Over here there's not much to add. I've added this gazebo as well, just like I had done over here in this area. And I've pretty much placed trees in every single place. Here in the middle I've placed a few tiles on the floor, and I've added a few benches where people can sit, and I have outlined the entire pathway with some bushes. There are some areas where I've placed these clusters of high vegetation, as you see here, this immense tall grass, and that was just to add a bit of texture in some areas of the zoo. Over here we have this little double avenue where I've placed some palm trees right in the middle, which I think looks adequate to this location. And moving on to the other side of the river, I've pretty much continued the pattern, and I've done the same thing over here, and I've placed also some trees near the shoreline and also in between some of the rocks to hide a few of the glitches that you get when you place rocks on the hillsides. And yeah, that's pretty much it. For the performance of the park itself, we are incurring in the loss of around 1000, but that's pretty normal because we have a lot of parks in the city, and not a lot of citizens prefer to come to this park. But for the looks of it, and also for the entertainment value that it provides to the entire city, I think it was pretty much worth it. But anyway guys, that's going to be it for today. Great amount of progress in this episode. We have managed to completely build the zoo and fully decorate it as well. In the next video we are going to continue the expansion of the city and add in a few more residents to it and increase its population. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you again in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have fun!